Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. With us today to discuss best practices in nutrition for swine and cattle is Mike Ray of Granite. Oh, Kristen, let me start again. I said Mike, and you go by Michael.
Either one. I go by anything.
You go by anything? All right, Kristen, let's just do it again. I feel bad. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. With us today to discuss best practices in nutrition for swine and cattle is Michael Ray with Granite Creek Capital Partners. He serves as chairman of the board of Veterinary Pharmaceutical Solutions as well. And we'll have you tell us a little bit more about your background here in a minute, Michael. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sarah. Good to see you.
For those of you that are tuning in, we thank you for your time. And if you have any questions for Michael, be sure to post those over there in the chat area on the right-hand side of your screen. If you're joining us from social media, simply post your questions directly in those channels. So, Michael, let's start things off by having you tell us a bit about your background in agribusiness and your current role.
Okay, my family's been in ag. My granddad was a sheriff and a rancher, and then my dad got out of it. But I always wanted to be back in it. I grew up in southern New Mexico, went to New Mexico State, and went to work for Iowa beef packers in Garden City when I first graduated. Then Ralston, Purina, and then I felt the urge to start my own company, be my own boss, and so we formed a company called Nutrition Physiology, developed a feed additive called Bovamine that was sold across the United States in multiple countries. And that allowed me to really get into the cattle business. We ranch in Oklahoma, we ranch in Nebraska, we run yearlings, we're involved in a commercial feed yard. We try to do everything there is in cattle. So I enjoy it. My family enjoys it, and we think it's a great business to be in.
Lots of familiar names there that you listed. That's great. So then, in your opinion, given all of this history in the industry, what would you say is most important for farmers to know about best practices when it comes to animal health and nutrition?
And a lot of that is staying up with current trends. Being involved with your state cattle feeders, state organizations, and going. There's a lot of conferences and staying up. Larger operations use commercial or consulting nutritionists and consulting vets to maintain that they're at the highest level of animal health. I always joke we take better care of animals than we do of people. You have a consulting vet and consulting nutritionist looking after the animals every day to make sure they have the perfect balanced ration, and they're using antibiotics right and they're using medicine right. So, if we probably ought to treat our humans the same way, but producers have a lot of opportunities. Bigger ones can use consulting. All feed companies have, consulting nutritionists that will work with them and making sure you're doing the things that are going to, it allows your animals to perform to their fullest extent.
Yeah, it's always good to go to some of these conferences and just know what's being talked about, especially when there's rethinking and new ideas. And sometimes that's just where things are, you kind of spur that thought and then something to take back, even if you have a consulting nutritionist to say, hey, what about this? What would it mean? Or if the consulting nutritionist brings you the idea, you can say, I know what this is all about, and this might be something we should look at, or this is just something we don't want to do. So staying informed, I think that's a great point to really emphasize.
Yeah, and having your employees or the other, especially younger people. I always say in a business, you want some old guys, because they've been there, and you want some young guys because they're going to push you, you know,
Hmm.
and the old guys will keep them out of the ditch, but the young guys will get you down the road. So.
So when we talk like that, then we also are going to, let's talk about data, because that's something that the young guys seem to push maybe a little bit more. I mean, we've always been big into record keeping, but what about some of this new data? What are some of the things that farmers should be paying attention to today and really using today when they're making decisions in their operations?
I mean, when you start running big operations, the power of one doesn't tell you a lot. Data tells you that we've done this practice over enough animals or over enough time that you can predict results. And that's why I said being involved in cattle shows, cattle conferences, nutrition conferences, veterinary conferences, you're going to see data where, hey, over 100,000 animals, we've done this, and here's what we see, and you can take that back to your operation. And data is going to give you the ability to predict that, hey, this will work in my operation, versus, hey, my neighbor tried this and thinks it's a good deal.
Right.
It's,
So
agriculture is a big business, and it's a very scientific business. And so we have to take a scientific approach and educate ourselves, plus get all the help we can from professionals, professional veterinarians or professional nutritionists.
well, and I think we all know too that a lot of times just a little change can mean a lot of money in terms of on the plus side or even on the negative side if you're not really looking at that data and making those informed decisions.
Oh yeah, I mean, in animal performance, a lot of times you're looking at a tenth improvement in gain or a tenth improvement in efficiency, and farmers have probably accepted that better, the way they plant corn and the varieties and chemical use, than cattle guys. The commercial guys do that. They know what a small percentage change, like you said, either way, plus or minus, how much money that can make you. And even a smaller producer needs to take that to their operation.
Well, and now we're looking at things too, like sustainability. How is what you're feeding or what your management practices, what you're doing on that farm or on that ranch is meaning from a sustainability standpoint, and what that means to your bottom line.
Yeah, that's one thing good about from a nutritional standpoint. You feed animals to their time of stage of life. Uh, you can't afford to overfeed. You can't afford to waste. You can't afford to feed animals something that's not good for the animal, for the environment. The agriculture's the sustainability model of the world because we live on those places, and we have to make it be sustainable. So we're going to do everything possible to have a good outcome.
You mentioned cattle shows, you mentioned nutrition conferences, meetings. How else can farmers keep informed? What other resources? Are there other things that maybe you as a cattle producer or someone in the industry really turns to, or something that you would suggest others pay attention to?
I'm an old guy, so my kids do more social media, but I read a lot. I read all the publications in the industry, feedstuffs, Beef Today, all those, to stay up with trends. And but you can also do that on social media. There's a lot of places you can go get information to help you stay up with all the changes, the new things, what opportunities are out there, and plus learn from fellow producers. It's a good way to, we don't need to make the same mistakes. And when somebody's doing something that's really the right thing to do and can help us make money, because agriculture is a tight margin business. Sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it's pretty tight. And we all want to be here in the future.
Have those conversations, do that networking, all that good stuff. What about risk management? How should farmers and ranchers approach risk management?
There's a lot of tools. There's LR for cattle standpoint. I'm not as familiar in swine for risk management on from the government side, but producers now can do LRPs for fat cattle and feeder cattle and calves, which is a government sponsored put option. You can hedge, any more of these animals, especially like today, when you're talking about $2,000 animals, you want to do everything you can to maintain profitability, and you can do that through commodity trading, through puts, options, or straight hedges, or LRPs. LRPs are offered and they're subsidized by the government. I believe they pay about 20, the feds pay about 20% of the premium, but all those, when you go to these cattle, like a state convention for Oklahoma cattlemen, or you go to the National Cattlemen's Convention, you can go to learn about how can I protect my risk. And every business in the United States that are good do things to protect their risk, and agricultural have to do that as well. You're not speculating, you're minimizing risk and protecting profits.
Right. We've been through a couple of years here of some tight profits, so to speak, if any profits, especially on the hog side. I know the cattle's coming back and hogs are coming back as well. So all good news there. But
it's more fun to make money than to lose money. I do know that.
I think we both agree on that front.
It's a lot more fun. Yeah.
So as we wrap up here, anything else that you'd like to add or leave our audience with today? Any kind of key takeaways?
I'm very bullish agriculture. I think we have a lot of opportunities. I think we have a lot of opportunities for young people. It's a good business to be in. My work with Granite Creek, we're looking at more and more ag companies because we believe that it's a great industry to be in, and we want to be a part of it. That's how we got with VPS, and that's how we added Diamond, and we're looking at other companies, but mainly because we think it's such a great industry.
Totally agree on that. So I want to thank you so much, Michael Ray, for being with us today. Michael Ray of Granite Creek Capital Partners. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate the time, Sarah.
Likewise, we appreciate all of you in our audience joining us. A reminder, you can review this interview along with a number of other Feedstuffs 365 exclusive interviews on feedstuffs.com. Until next time, for Feedstuffs, I'm Sarah Muirhead.